Here we go with least common multiple. Least common multiple. So the first thing we need to figure out is the difference between factors and multiples. So, factors of 6 are 2 times 3. 2 and 3 are factors. If we want to count in multiples of 6, that means 1 6 is 6, 2 6s is 12, and so on, counting up by 6s. So check the difference. Factors are numbers that multiply to give you a certain number. Multiples are numbers that you count by that same number. So these are factors of 6. The blue is multiples of 6. Okay, so least common multiple. Your notes are in front of you. In your notes, you already have this definition. The least, think of that word, least means the smallest number that the numbers you are dealing with will go into. They will go into. Here we go. So you have 12 and 16. We are still going to factor the 12 and 16. So here's your factor tree coming at you. For 12 and for 16, here you go. So nothing has changed yet. Then you're going to still line them up, and we're looking for what's in common. It's still least common multiple. So they have 2's in common, another pair of 2's. So in common, they have 2 pair of 2's. Here comes the difference. For least common multiple, it's the same process, but we are including what is left over. So you have a pair of 2's and a pair of 2's. What is left over? A 3, a 2, and a 2. So we're going to count each one of those individually. So this is what we're looking at. 1, 2, and another 2. That's where these first two come from. Then a 3, a 2, and a 2. So we're basically counting everything we have here. If we multiply those, we get 48. So what are we saying? We are saying that 48 is the smallest number that 12 and 16 go into. The smallest number that they will go into. Pause it if you have to get that written down. All right, here's your second method on how to do that. Most of you like this way better. Here's your upside down bridge. I'm saying 4 goes into both. 4 goes into 12, 3. 4 goes into 16, 4. 3 and 4 are relatively prime, meaning the only thing that goes into both numbers is 1. Relatively prime tells us that we can stop. Take that number out in the front, just like we did with greatest common factor, except we are going to include all of the numbers on the outside. So we've got 4 times 3 times 4. Don't laugh at my squiggly little squiggliness here. So we're multiplying all the numbers. So in this case, we know that 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 4 is 48. So there's your method 2. Okay, pause the tape and try 36 and 72. Either method. Go for it. Here's my factor tree version. What do they have in common? Pair of 2's, pair of 2's, pair of 3's, pair of 3's. Yes, you can go diagonal. We're also going to include that leftover 2. Very important. So I've got a 2, a 2, a 3, and a 3. That's this first group of numbers, and this little 2 at the end is this guy here that we had left over. Multiply them out. Least common multiple is 72. 72 is the smallest number these two will both go into. So maybe you ought to check first and say, will the smaller one go into the bigger one? That's what I would do. For those of you who did the cake method, the ladder method, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to use 9. Goes into 36, 4. 9 goes into 72, 8. 4 and 8 are not relatively prime because 4 goes into both. Goes in here 1, goes in here 2. There's your relatively prime. Taking the numbers, look at that now. Taking the numbers on the outside. Okay, multiply those through and you get the same 72 that we had before. Remember, you can rewind this, you can pause it, make sure you come to class with your notes filled out. Good job, kept it below 5 minutes. Woo!